What's up guys, I'm Phoenix Master 1 and welcome to my Forma building guide for this month's Awakening Hall of Forms featuring Brave Chrom, Legendary Male Robin, Brave Tiki, and also Year Panne. This is easily one of the more valuable Hall of Forms that we have got because this has 2 Brave units and also a Legendary unit, and we're going to be having skills up to the Legendary Ira and Athos banner. So unfortunately, Haste Slice is not going to be in for Chrom, but still, let us begin with him, and he's going to be the star of this batch because he is still such a good unit. So back when he came out, he did have the competition with Brave Seliph as the best unit from that batch. And Brave Chrom even then did have a lot of potential, but the fact that he has got a preferred assist that can copy any kind of status of an ally just makes him so versatile because units can come and go, but every single time he's going to be taking advantage of some kind of new status effect that we just keep getting. So he did get a weapon refine to his Gidrifol, and it does have slaying and also effective damage against armors, and this is also one of the reasons why he is such a good unit right now in the metagame because we have Nidhogre, Mythic Nidhogre is red, and there's also Duo Rhea who's one of the best near saves there. We also have Attuned Hector as the free Hero Rises reward that everyone has gotten, so having this effective damage against the armors does help him kill those kinds of tanks, and we do not have too many units that can do the nuking like he does as a Cavalier. And if any kind of movement assist is used by him or targets him, then he gets a selfish link effect, so only he is able to get the 50% damage reduction piercing status and also the dull alt status. And the piercing status means that even if you do not run no quarter and if you run something like Haste Slice, you're still going to be getting some piercing, and dull alt means that he is going to be having even better stat swings because of this refine. And then he's able to get extra stats in the combat depending on the bonus and penalty status active on him ×2, and this has no cap, so he can get as many stats as he can want. Unfortunately, his true damage is not uncapped like Rest Valgyr's, but still the fact that he has got such stat stacking potential is amazing because now units just give out 2-3 status effects just like it's nothing. So he does take advantage of it. He does have pierceable 40% damage reduction from foes first attacks, which is not the biggest deal, but it does help with attack speed XL and Haste Slice. And then he also gets special cooldown +1 per attack if any kind of bonus is active on him, and it is going to be active no matter what. So with this, he's able to trigger his specials a lot easily and even trigger it on the double, and then he gets another round of +5 to all of his stats. His true damage does have the ceiling of 16, but it's certainly not bad on a nuke and it's workable. And then at the end, he gets 7 HP healing after the combat. And because of his assist, a fate changed. It is the reason why he is so good because this lets you have the action economy, which is amazing in summoner duels, and this is effectively repositioned, so you could use it offensively and even defensively, and it does let you just put the allies on the front line, and this way you can improve their reach, so it is extremely helpful. And it also lets them copy any kind of status effects of the target ally, all of them, so you can just copy stuff like Gallop status from Emblem Sigurd. That's the main one that he likes to copy nowadays to function as a 5 movement Cavalier. And once you have Gallop status, it doesn't matter if the enemy inflicts the stalled status on you because it doesn't stop your mobility. He does have the isolation status inflicted on him, so you cannot really do this again and again unless you have Ymir on your team to cleanse this. So overall, Brave Chrom is easily one of the best Hall of Forms units we have ever gotten. He has aged so well, and as I explained before, I think he is still going to be aging well with the time because we are going to be having strong status effects on units, and Chrom is simply going to be able to copy them without any kind of trouble, get the extra action, and go ahead and nuke the enemies. So for optimizing Chrom's build, you would need Haste Slice, but unfortunately it's not available in this Hall of Forms. It is in the Divine Codes, so you could try and give that to him later on. That is certainly his best special because it gives you the unpierceable damage reduction, but no quarter is also not the worst because you get the full piercing and it also gives you extra damage against armors, which are going to be his main target. So you could try and get it as a premium special. And for Slotty, I would recommend Attack Speed XL because it does give you the offenses, but it also gives you 2 layers of flat damage reduction, one against the regular hits and one against the specials. And when you combine this with the damage reduction of his Weapon Refine and potentially Haste Slice, if you try and run that, he gets extremely bulky, so just killing him with a single retaliation if you're a safe tank and if you're in armor gets really hard, and then you're going to be getting doubled and you're going to be dying. So this is the best Slotty skill for him, but if you already have it, then you could try and run Slice the Sparrow. It does give you the true damage, but it's mainly a player phase skill. Attack Speed Prime is also an option if you want him to counterattack at distance. There are not too many units that would like to have a Prime skill now, but he is one of the few units because of the fact that he wants to have a lot of status effects. So you could try and run this and maybe run inside attack speed. So it can work for both of the phases, but it's not going to be giving you the really good effects of Excel or the Slash the Sparrow skill. And if you're not able to get any of these skills, then Flared Sparrow is also an option. You set up the flame terrain and you're able to retreat, so it does stop the ranged enemies from chasing you. Setting up the terrain also can override the other terrain of the enemy, so it also has its usage, even though offensively it is certainly not as good as the other skills like Slash the Sparrow and Excel. For the slot B, Momentum is definitely one of his must-have skills in my opinion. I have been thinking about Potent versus Momentum, and ultimately I came to the conclusion that I think Momentum is better to get in the Holo forms because we do have Legendary Ira right now on the Hero Rises banner, and you can spark her, and Potent status is a thing in the game, so she can give that support. And we may have units in the future who also give out the Potent support, so you're able to outsource Potent, but you're not able to outsource the things that Momentum gives you. So using this, you can immediately trigger No Quarter or Haste Slice because of its pre-impulse, and that way you're able to front load your damage. And because of the special charge +1 in his Refine, he is able to trigger another special if the enemy doesn't have guard, and still, you can have the null guard support. So with the survival that Excel and Haste Slice can provide, it just lets you nuke the enemy with another special, and it gets really hard for the armors to survive it. So I am going to be picking up Momentum because of the reason I stated before, but if you want to have Potent, then it's also a really good effect because Potent requires a unit to have amazing damage output to really matter on the third hit, and Chrom is one of those units who does have that kind of damage output, so you can easily run this on him. This has been a tried and tested skill for him, but now I think with Haste Slice and Momentum, it becomes a really good combo because he gets so many pre-impulses with Haste Slice and Momentum that even against the Scout skill built into the Weapon of Rhea, he's still going to be having the special triggered. So I do enjoy triggering 2 specials against the enemies that may not have a twin save skill, and if they are a beast or a dragon with higher or lower count. And then we've got Assault Force. This can give you the null debuffs, which also helps you with the stat swing. It gives you the true damage based on 20% of your speed, and that is the main reason for using it. It also gives you more piercing, and it does stack up multiplicatively, so you're going to be having 75% piercing per attack. But again, focusing too much on the piercing is also not the best because you're not going to be able to pierce the flat or unpierceable damage reduction. But still, nonetheless, Assault Force does remain a good skill, and Speed Defense Detect is also a good utility skill. It can help you get lull speed defense, and he already has dull all status from his weapon, but this is more of the support with the exposure status for him to improve his damage output. And he also supports any kind of ally on the map, get the lull speed defense effect with the detect skill. So it is one of the things you can do with him like you can with Ninja Lucina. And if you don't have the fodder, or if you just have the other skills, then this is also something you could consider from a utility perspective. And then for slot C, I do think that Fatal Smoke is essential to make sure that Chrom can kill his targets, which are going to be armors, because they're going to be having Miracle of Duo Rhea. And even if Duo Rhea is a far savior, she's still going to be giving Miracle to her ally. So the Fatal Smoke is helpful so that you do not get stopped by this kind of Miracle this non-special miracle, and this also helps him against the Breath of Life tanks because he does have a lot of stat stacking potential. So the thing is that he can have so much defense that he could try and cut the healing that the enemies get out of Breath of Life in combination with his defense and Fatal Smoke. So if the enemy doesn't have Divine Nectar of Hatrens, then this can help you, but if there is Divine Nectar, then it's completely immune to the Deep Wounds effect of Fatal Smoke. And you could also try and get Inside Attack Speed if you want to have another status effect available on him right from the get-go. This also gives you the visible buff. Unfortunately, Attack Speed, Joint Tone, Inside is not there. That would have been perfect for him, but he misses that as well along with Haste Slice. Shadow Shift is also an option that he could run on him, but keep in mind that he does have Isolation inflicted on himself after he does use his assist. So you would need to do another action to, trigger the Canto out of your Sigurd Ring. And then finally, Odd Speed Wave is also a tech option so that you can have the extra speed and also always have the full null follow-up effect. So if you're not able to outsource or give him the null follow-up status, then this could also be an option. But overall, as I said, Fatal Smoke is what helps him just do his job as a melee nuke. Usually he is going to be run with Sigurd Ring because even without copying the +1 movement or gallop status, he is going to be having a good amount of reach and threat range, and he also gets the flat Canto 3 out of it. And because the other slots of his kit are just so occupied with the essential effects for nuking, he can basically get the Canto and extra movement out of this. So this is going to be his main emblem ring. Chrom's bonds with his allies give him strength, so as I said, you could try and outsource the potent follow-up attack from Legendary Ira as his status. You also have Desert Marissa now who can enable the brave attacks of Brave Chrom, so that is ridiculously hard to survive with his firepower across the map. So that kind of brave support is so good. There's also Legendary Sakura who can enable him to warp near her after having the Canto triggered, so it makes for a good hit and run potential. There's also Spring Plumeria who can give you even more true damage and also give you the other status effects like Sabotage and Frozen, so it can help Chrom in a way, and it also helps by just yeeting him in the range of the enemy with the Shadow Smite that she has got. Ninja Lucina also has the support of the Future Witness. She also gives out the null follow-up status, so that all is helpful along with her Detect Slot B skill. And then if you're going to be running him on a traditional cav line, then Emblem Sigurd is basically his best buddy because he gets to copy the Gallop status. And then you just run a Pathfinder unit like Dagger or Thiazi. Both of them are a bit more unique than Aided Dagger or Note. Aided Dagger is not going to be as bulky as Mythic Dagger, and Mythic Dagger does have the flexibility of having Pathfinder inner weapon, so you can just run other slot B skills if the need arises. And Ocher, I'm not kidding, is actually a really good unit on a Cavline team because he provides the unhindered movement status and also the insided status, so it helps Chrom a lot get past the Trench Tiles, and it also helps him get the extra stats with the insided effect. So he is going to be a nice partner with him, and he does have the nuking potential now after his refined Valentine Claw can also give you null follow-up and pre-impulse status, and it can also help just have a really strong ranged nuke like him, and he also has the extra action. There are also other nukes that can help you, obviously, like Emblem Lyn. She's just good on any kind of team when it comes to nuking. Neo Rest Valgyr is also incredibly powerful nuke, so the chances of a tank living both Chrom and Neo Rest Valgyr is incredibly low. There's also Yunaka who does appreciate Chrom just putting her forward, and then she can just warp and come back to your team with Legendary Sakura support. And there's also Valentine, Edelgard, and Dimitri. Both of them do have the extra actions as well, so as a melee nuke, they do work well with him, and they can also provide the extra status effects which Chrom can copy. Brave Tiki also got the Refine along with Brave Chrom in that batch, and honestly her weapon Refine is kinda underrated. It can help her be a pretty nice Omni tank by compressing a lot of the effects, and it frees her up from running, those skills in her passives. So she has got Remote Breath, which does have Sling and effective damage against dragons. Again, this is really helpful now because Duo Rhea is gonna be everywhere, And this encounter effect built in this weapon means that you do not need to run that as a Sacred Seal or even as an Attune skill. So as I said, it does free you up. And if she's within 3 spaces of an ally, then she can get plus $5 for stats. She gets the guaranteed follow-up attack, and she also gets the Preempt Pulse effect. She was, I believe, one of the first units to have the Preempt Pulse effect at that time, along with Duo Ike. And she also has the Scowl effect. So this does have the resistance check, and having Scowl built in your weapon does mean that you have other options in the slot A. I mean, you could also run double Scowl, but there are also other effects you could try and get, and because of being a dragon, she does have the Hexblade damage against the ranged foes. Then with her Refine, she gets another round of plus $5 for stats, and she also gets extra stats depending on 10% of her visible resistance. So stuff like Strongholds, Goddess Sacred Seal does help her a bit because she is going to be able to have a bit more stats, but you should not just completely focus on this because it is just 10% scaling. And then she gets flat damage reduction based on 20% of her resistance, and this is a big deal because this is what is going to be making her tanky and let her function as an Omni tank. Without the flat damage reduction, it's really hard nowadays to function as a tank. So this is a good baseline, and on top of this you could run Spiked Wall, Dragon's Roar, Lagoose Friend, and a lot of other skills and just stack up the flat damage reduction for the tanking. And she also gets 50% damage reduction piercing in her weapon itself. So usually dragons are going to be running Dragon's Roar and stuff like that, and I really love the piercing built in this weapon because it means that you don't necessarily have to run Lagoose Friend or Dragon Scales to get the piercing. Dragon Scales is not the best because it doesn't give you any kind of flat damage reduction. It's going to be giving you the effects that already overlap with her weapon, and if you're not going to be running Lagoose Friend with Dragon's Roar, then this kind of piercing is just amazing for the compression. And then she has got the Outdated Divinity because this is not a skill you should be running on a high investment build. It's just Dragon Wall with follow-up denial, and that's pretty much it. The best part about it is the AoE damage reduction, but all of this Dragon Wall damage reduction is pierceable, so we just have better options. But in the Hall of Forms, try and get this skill first so that it stops appearing in the skill list, and then you can try and get the other slot B skill. So that is always a trick that you can do in Hall of Forms to make sure that you can get the other skill that you want to have in the slot where there is a preferred skill, because the chances of a preferred skill appearing is more in Hall of Forms. So just eliminate that from appearing by getting it first. And even though Brave Tiki is not going to be on some insane omni-tanking potential like Attune Temera, she is still going to be a fairly unique dragon omni-tank because of all of the effects that she's got built in her weapon. There are better dragons, obviously, that are armors. We have got Duo Rhea, who's insane. So measuring up to her is going to be a bit hard, but compared to that, she does have the access to the infantry skills, and infantry units also have access to a lot of the attune skills. And while you cannot get the attune skills in the Hall of Forms, that is always something you could give to her later on after redeeming your Forma Soul. And Null Counter Echo is certainly one of her best attune slots. So when it comes to optimizing her build, you could try and get Reposition Gate on any kind of infantry unit, as I said, and Dragon's Roar is absolutely a must-have. It's essential for having the unpierceable damage reduction, it scales off her resistance, it is the perfect special. And then you can run Stronghold so that you can get the visible resistance and visible defense, and this does help you against the AoE specials. It also helps you with her Refine as you have more visible resistance to scale off the stats with, and it also cleanses the defense and resistance debuffs and the panic so that you can tank better. Now, a lot of people will ask that there is a bit of an overlap because Barricade also has the defense and resistance null debuffs, but the thing is that Stronghold prevents the debuffs and panic from being applied at start of the turn, and Barricade is there to provide you with the immunity to any kind of defense or resistance debuff if they are applied in middle of the turn. And the middle of the turn debuffs are getting pretty common, so I think the combination of Stronghold and Barricade is actually pretty nice to just make sure that she doesn't get debuffed on her, main bulky stats and tanks with it. Bonus doubler is also an option because she does have distant counter built in her weapon, so she doesn't want distant bonus doubler like a lot of the other units. So you could run this and stat stack, but overall I do like Stronghold a bit more because of the reasons I stated. You can also run Defense Res Scowl and have double Scowl, so this can help you against the single preempt pulse enemies. And double Scowl, while it does sound good, keep in mind that on the follow-up attacks, the enemy are going to be triggering their specials anyways, and they might be able to kill you, so that's why having a bit different effect than Scowl can also help. And if you get extremely unlucky and you get none of these skills, then Fire Flood Boost is an option. Guard effect from it is kind of meaningless now that everyone has got Preempt Pulse and Null Guard, but it's mainly there to give you the extra HP with the bulk, so you could try and get that. And then in slot B, Attack Defense Spiked Wall, in my opinion, is the best skill for her right now, along with Dragon's Roar. The reason being is that with Laguz Friend, you need to have a 3 cooldown offensive special, and because she has a -1 special cooldown weapon, it is never gonna be 3 cooldown Dragon's Roar for her. So you cannot really run Laguz Friend with Dragon's Roar, which is the best special for her. And I have calculated this, and overall the survivability of Dragon's Roar, the damage output and everything along with Spiked Wall is a lot better than Glacis plus Laguz Friend. So I do like the combination of Spiked Wall and Dragon's Roar better, and it also gives you 7 flat damage reduction, which may not be too much compared to Laguz Friend, but keep in mind that because of this skill, you're able to get the unpierceable damage reduction out of Dragon's Roar. So it kind of makes up for it in my opinion. You also get true damage based on the higher of your defense or resistance. So that's why the attack defense Spiked Wall version is preferred, because you can take advantage of either her resistance or defense. She does have the defense debuff, and as a dragon with adaptive damage, it can come in handy. It also has Null Guard, so with the Preempt Pulse built in her weapon, she can make sure that she can retaliate back with Dragon's Roar, and the Bulwark effect can help you obstruct the foes that just have high mobility, high movement, and then you obstruct the foes that have any kind of warping with Barricade. So both kinds of shutting down of the approach options of the enemies is really good, and then you put Ice Lock on top of it with like any kind of healer, and it's extremely hard for them to, initiate against your team. Now, if you do not get this, then Reopening could be an option. It does give you the flat damage reduction on your defense, and Tiki is not the fastest. She can stack up some speed, but in the grand scheme of things, she's not going to be the fastest, so it can work out. But overall, I do like the Spiked Wall a bit more, especially because of its Bulwark effect. And then we have got Laguz Friend, our old friend, but keep in mind that you will need to run Glacis if you choose to get the skill, and Dragon's Roar is not going to be working with it. And then in the slot C, I think Barricade is the best pickup because it has amazing synergy with the Bulwark effect, as I said, for just shutting down multiple approach options of the enemies, and that's amazing as a frontliner. It also helps you support your allies and give them the defense and resistance null debuffs, and as I explained before, it also helps you against the middle of the turn debuffs along with Stronghold. But still, there are many options that you could try and run on her if you already plan on giving this to her from Rearm Nell or something like that. So you could try and get Breath of Life 4. It does work well with her high defense. Time Pulse Edge is also there if you just want to have a bit better player phase, because she could initiate combat, and because of her Preempt Pulse trigger Dragon's Roar immediately, and Ploy is also going to be taking advantage of her resistance and giving you the Ploy status and exposure on the enemy. And it does help you in the player phase as well to just trigger your special immediately. And when it comes to her Emblem Ring, Emblem Ike Ring is perfect so that she can get the unpierceable damage reduction against the ranged enemies. But if you want to have a bit more of a mixed phase approach, then Sigurd Ring can also give you the Canto and the extra movement, and Tiki can certainly go and kill things at times with her player phase and the Preempt Pulse, so that's also an option. While Tiki does have the flat damage reduction, it's never bad to have even more flat damage reduction, so Sethith is easily one of the best tank supports in the entire game. he has the compression of a flyer, so he can give you the warping of Soaring Echo and also give you Breath of Life healing. He can also run some kind of snag or detect lobby skill to give even more support with the visible debuffs. And we also have Elamine, who has gotten a remix. Her remix is a bit better and she can always help you with the Ice Lock. As I said, for limiting even more approach options. The flat damage reduction support that she gives is nice, and she also gives you the pre-impulse, but the Lagoo style of it. So that way Tiki is able to have both kinds of pre-impulse. The one where it is given to her before her first attack, and then the one that is given to her before enemy's first attack. Halloween Asker can also give you the Breath of Life healing, and he is also a solid support unit with the status effects he can provide. We also have Attune Micaiah for the cleansing. She can get rid of any kind of other status effects that may be bothering Tiki. And then Ice Stripe Felicia is a pretty underrated option if you're not able to run Null Counter Disrupt Echo on your Brave Tiki, so Felicia can provide that to her and improve her tanking. And Tiki can also function as a melee tank basically, or a melee frontliner, so she could be getting supported by a Far Savior who can focus on the range matchups. So we do have the Stone Terrain of Attuned Hector, we have Miracle of Duo Rhea, there's also the debuffs of Nidhogre and also the Dosage status from both of them. Even Marnie has got the Dull Ult status, which can help you with the tanking, and she's a free-to-play unit. And there are also many other units like Lumera with the Stone Terrain or Veil with the AoE damage reduction and her follow-up Scowl, which can help Tiki. Duo Hathrin can give you Divine Nectar, and she can also give you the Chart status. So again, if you are a player phase, a Tiki enjoyer, then it does help. And Desert Marissa is also another unit that can help you defensively even because you have the Brave hits, and keep in mind that the Spiked Wall's true damage isn't like Lagoo's Friend. Lagoo's Friend only gives you true damage on the special triggers, but Spiked Wall gives you true damage on every single hit. So if you run her with Desert Marissa, then she gets the Brave hits in the enemy phase and does so much damage. And then Legendary Sakura is also amazing with her flat damage reduction support and also all of the other things that she can do, which makes her one of the best units in the game right now. Legendary Male Robin is the newest legendary unit that we have ever gotten in a Holo forms, so he's pretty latest compared to the last one, Legendary Deidra, who had that record. So he's here as a green infantry mage with Master's Tactics, and upon his release he was so strong that they had to make the ploy status to counter him and the ploy skills. So he does have slaying, and at start of the turn he's going to be giving his allies and himself the Grand Strategy status, which is basically an Omni Unity status effect. So it can help you get the extra stats depending on the debuff that you have got. So it's amazing for stat stacking, and it pretty much prevents the enemy from taking too much advantage of the debuffs. But like I said, ploy skills are there, and they specifically nullify the Grand Strategy status effect. They don't nullify the inbuilt unity in a slot A skill, but it does nullify the visible Grand Strategy effect. And then he also self-debuffs him for -4 to all of these stats to take advantage of the double unity that he has got. And for his allies, he debuffs them on their highest and second highest stats for -6 debuffs. So this can enable them to take advantage of the unity effect right from the get-go instead of waiting for the enemy to debuff them. So it's always appreciated. And he also debuffs his foes and the 3 spaces foes of them with -3 to all of their stats. If he was released right now, I'm certain he would debuff another stat, or just have another status effect like Sabotage status maybe, but right now he only has this, and his Refine Remix is very far away. For his weapon in the combat, he just gets -5 attack speed and resistance debuff, and the follow-up Denial, so some pretty basic stuff. And then his slot A part of the plan is the slot A skill that you're going to be running. It gives you -8 debuff to attack speed and resistance of the enemy. It has another layer of unity, but keep in mind that this is the innate unity and this is not the status effect. So there's nothing that can, nullify it. And then we have got the guaranteed follow-up attack, which he does need with his shaky speed of base 30. So again, some basic stuff. He doesn't really have the most insane effects, like even true damage that you would have on a unit like this. Flat damage reduction would have also been really good with the stat stacking, but at that time, if he had that, he would have been even more insane at his release. So unfortunately, you'll have to watch out for the ploy effects and those kinds of things. And he can be a pretty fun mage, and he can also be used in Arena as a bonus unit. So you could try and get Frost Moon because it is going to be giving you the Forma value and also the Arena scoring. Now I know he doesn't have the highest resistance, but still he gets more resistance than what it seems because of the double unity effect that he has got. And that way he can nuke decently hard, and Frost Moon does give you the full piercing, and it also has the pre-impulse built in it if he's not able to double the enemy, so that's a pretty nice insurance. And reposition gate is also a high scoring assist for arena usage. You're going to be keeping his Slotty because I don't think anything can really challenge it, but I guess you could pick up Slimer just for the fun if you have a lot of torches left. And in the slot B, he does have a couple of options. Resonance is one of them. So it does have a bit of the overlap with Frost Moon with the piercing, but I think the true damage is a lot more helpful, and he does get the 60% piercing on just his regular attacks. So having that piercing can also help, and in Arena, it's especially going to be helpful against the pierceable damage reduction if you cannot trigger Frost Moon. You could also run attack resistance tempo for the piercing and the full tempo effect, so it can also help you trigger your specials easily. And then Lagoose Friend is also an option. It does overlap with Frost Moon with its full piercing on the specials, but you can also run Ether with it, or Ignis if you want to run outside of Hollow Forms, as you already get the piercing. So it's also an option for a mage like him that does like to stack a lot of these stats, but Resonance gives you the true damage on every single hit compared to Lagoose Friend. And then for the slot C, I think that having anything that can support your allies, Infantry Null Follow-Up can help him because he does stack a decent amount of speed, so it's a useful effect, and he also gets the order status out of it, so he's able to warp around, and that is good for the mobility in Arena. But because he is going to be running higher cooldown specials like Frost Moon, a lot of the times you could run Time Pulse Edge to give him even more stats, and this can work out well with a tempo skill maybe, so that you can trigger your specials easily. Fatal Smoke is going to be a mainstay for any kind of arena unit because Marnie is going to be there on every single match, so Fatal Smoke may just save you a lot of trouble against those kinds of non-special miracle. And then Breath of Life is also something he could try and run, especially at higher investment, and it's also a support that he can provide to his allies. But most of the time, his allies do turn up to be infantry units that can take advantage of the null follow-up effect, and his best allies are not the allies that can make his combat better, but instead, he makes their combat better. So we have got attuned Sita, who is one of the better Omni tanks in my opinion. I mean, she is not at the level of attuned Temera, but she's also not that far off in my opinion. So she can stack up a lot of stats with it. Athos is really underrated, and he does have the unity effect in his slotty skill. Ford does get forgotten, but he can hit like a truck because of the true damage that he has got. And then we have got a couple of older units that many people have as their favorites, like Fallen Ike, Legendary Marth, who can take advantage of this unity stacking. And Dagger is also there with her unity weapon. We even have gotten some of the free-to-play weapon refines like on Echidna, Cynthia, and Ferdinand. So if you have them at plus 10 merge, and if you do not have Robin, then this can also be a way of supporting them and taking the full advantage out of their refines. The final unit of this batch is going to be Year Panne, and she is a red beast cavalier. She has got Keen Rabbit Fang with slaying built in it, and she does have effective damage against the cavaliers. She was the 4-star focus of her banners, so a lot of people may have her as a plus merge project, and this is going to be a nice chance of updating her skills. So for the in combat effects, she does get plus 6 attack and speed in the combat. She doesn't have the full null follow-up, just the half version of it, the offensive half, so the follow-up negation is not going to be stopping her. And then she gets the pierceable 40% damage reduction. She also gets special cooldown plus 1 per attack, so she does not need a wild skill, and she can even function with Gale Force, but this effect is going to be having a speed check, so this can help her trigger Nimble Beast twice in a single round of combat, or even use Gale Force. Now, because she is one of the older beast units, she doesn't have the updated Cavalry Beast effect, which gives you the clash effect and the attack and defense debuff and also more damage reduction. So instead she has got the +2 attack and -4 attack and defense debuff and the follow-up denial, which is a bit weird compared to what the modern Cavalry Beast have got. So I guess if you want to update this, then Arcane Nihility is going to be the main option because her refine is going to be super far away at the speed we're at. So when building up Panne, you just need to focus on getting the true damage because it is something she lacks. And when you are a slayer of cavaliers or armors or anything really, you need to have that true damage to have the oomph to finish off these units. And there are a couple of bulky cavaliers like Legendary Xander and Brave Alphonse that are green, so the effective damage against them can certainly help. So for the premium skills, you could try and get Rally Defense Res Plus because it does have good synergy with the barricade support, and Nimble Beast is going to be her best special as a fast beast unit, so you need to get the unpierceable damage reduction and the special damage that scales off her speed. And then for the slot A, I think that attack speed fortune is the best one because it frees you up from running the base Sacred Seal and you can easily instant transform. It also has the lull speed defense built in it, so it can help with the speed check for the special charges of her weapon, and she doesn't get +14 to all of her stats from her weapon, so any kind of extra speed support is really good, and I think I like this a lot more than any other skill because of it. There's of course the option of running attack speed excel if you want to stack up more flat damage reduction with Nimble Beast. There's also Slice of Sparrow if you want to get the true damage, but it is going to be a player phase skill, and then if you get extremely unlucky, then at least there's going to be the Flared Sparrow that you could try and get. For the slot B, I think that Bestial Assault is really good because it gives you the Canto minimum 2, which can help you run other emblem rings like Celica Ring for the warping or Marth Ring to have a 1 cooldown Nimble Beast. So it does open the options, and even in the future as we get more emblems, I think it can age better. And it also gives you the damage reduction piercing, which is good because we're not going to be running Fierce Beast on a fast beast unit like this. We need to have Nimble Beast. And it also gives her the true damage based on her speed. So as I said before, having some kind of true damage is absolutely necessary. And there are going to be other slot B skills that you could run for it, like Momentum. But if you run Momentum, then Sigurd Ring is something you'll need to have some kind of Canto and get the +1 movement. So it is also an option with Nimble Beast build, but if you just want to have a self-sufficient build that also has the piercing built in it, and if you want to run some other emblem rings, then Bestial Assault is pretty nice, and Near Trace is an option if you get extremely unlucky because it gives you a little bit of true damage and the Canto, which you need as a Cavalier. Finally, in the slot C, we have got Barricade. So as I said, with the Tiki section, Barricade support is so good for the warp blocking. Of course, you're going to be facing enemies with the pass skill, but still, it's a good support that you can give out as a Cavalier, and it is a rare skill. The entire build that she has got here, except for Barricade, can be obtained from Neo Rest Valkyr in the Divine Code, so if you have limited amounts of Forma Souls, then it is something you could consider. You're not going to be able to get Barricade out of Divine Codes, and you can just get Beast Threaten from Summer Nerthus, so I just want to give a heads up before you invest in her with your Forma Soul. So there is going to be the Beast Threaten option with the Marth Ring to pre-charge Nimble Beast. There's also Shadow Shift for the utility, and then again, Fatal Smoke is something that you would need in Arena Assault as a red unit if you want to have better matchup against Marnie. Fatal Smoke also helps you against any kind of bulky Cavalier that may be getting the support of Duo Rhea with her Miracle, so it's gonna be a way of her killing that kind of Cavalier with her effective damage and not letting the non-special Miracles stop her. The next month, we're gonna be having the Fates Hall of Forms, and we have got a lot of options there. There has been a recent calendar change where Legend Female Corrin is scheduled to be in April, so I do think that she's going to be appearing there. Even Legend Camilla has a pretty good chance, and I mean, they just gave us Legendary Male Robin, so it could happen. And if they do another last minute change, then even Xander, Hinoka, or Azura could be possible. So you could try and expect them, and out of this entire list, I think this is the most possible 2 batches. So I think the first batch could happen because both of the Kanas are really good dragons. We just got Arcane Fel Arts, and you cannot get fell arts from Hall of Forms. So it's gonna be a way of them incentivizing you to just update your kanas. And then Camilla and Corin could happen in the best case scenario in the same batch, giving you the value as the legendary units. And if there's no legendary Camilla, then I do think that Ninja Camilla could happen because she's already there in Binding World, so she could even just appear in Holo Forms and it doesn't matter much. There's a lot of good skills that she can try and get, like Frost Moon, and she is a very popular character, so she could be an option with this kind of sibling Fates batch with Valentine Takumi and also Valentine's Leo. Valentine's Leo being one of the better Leos with his preferred weapon, and Takumi also has new tools now. Valentine Takumi also has the incentivization just like Kana's, because we do have a new Arcane Blue Tome, so I do have a suspicion that it plays a factor in who appears in all the forms. So come back to this video next month to see if I was right or wrong. And I want to thank all of my YouTube members for their constant support. And you can click the link on the screen right now to check out my breakdown of the weapon refines of this month. And make sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell, because YouTube sub boxes are about as functional as Haste Lives being in this Hall of Forms. So with that, I'll see you guys next time. Thanks so much for watching and have a great day.